I've made today's episode specially for you who are newer to sewing. We're going to be sewing a t-shirt together made out of knit fabric. You can use the same steps and same sewing construction for a whole variety of t-shirt patterns. It's going to be super practical. Now at the end, I'm also going to share with you 3 free t-shirt patterns that you can test out. They all have the same sewing construction. The fit of them is different. They're different brands, different sizing. I'll mention the basic specs of them at the end so you can have a go at a free t-shirt. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, and today we are going to be doing some sewing. I've made this episode specially for you who are newer to sewing. Maybe you have a serger, you have your sewing machine, you've dabbled a little bit, but you're still sort of hesitant about sewing knit fabrics and making a simple t-shirt. Lots of pattern brands have t-shirts around, some of them will have varieties in the way that they fit, the sizing and things like that. But the main steps are there: shoulder seams, side seams, sleeves. They can be short, they can be long. The way you sew them in is exactly the same. And with the necklines, usually a lot of t-shirt patterns will have options. Some of them will have a crew, which is a higher around the neckline, or a little lower neckline with a neckband. What I'm including today is the sewing steps for any tee with a round neckline with a neckband. I have a separate video already on the channel showing you how to sew a V neckband. I think that is something that you could experiment after a while, after having some knit sewing under your belt, because I would say that is not a beginner technique. Not that it's difficult, but I would say it's easier for you to start doing the rounded necklines with the round neckbands. So that's what's included in this sewing video. If your t-shirt pattern also includes a t-shirt dress, you could use this sewing construction as well, because all that changes is the length of the side seams. It's the same for a short sleeve or a long sleeve or a 3/4 length. It doesn't matter. I'm going to show you 2 ways of sewing these sleeves in so that you can see which one you like, experiment and choose. I do have my preference, but I am showing you both so that you can make up your mind based on your own experience, because that is the best way. You can do it, feel it, wear it, and then choose what you like best. So I'm giving you some options. We're going to be using no special notions here other than your thread and maybe a twin needle. You don't have to use a twin needle for the hem, although I suggest you use it because it looks really nice and it gives you a stretch stitch that will not pop over time. Rather than doing a straight stitch on the sewing machine, you can also use a zigzag. But you don't need stabilizers, special threads. You don't need special things to sew your t-shirt. I'm going to be doing most of the steps directly on the serger, a few steps on the sewing machine, so it's a good mix of both. If you don't have a serger, you can sew your seams with the sewing machine. I'm going to show you the type of stitch I'm using when I do use the sewing machine. And there's one thing I'm including here because the pattern I'm using has it, and it's a bustard. Now, don't think this is an alien thing that you'll see on a t-shirt. There are a few patterns out there that do have bustards, especially for full bust options for a larger cup size. Although it's not typically seen, it's not like it doesn't exist, and this is the first ever t-shirt to have a bustard. Now, disclaimer, it doesn't matter what pattern I'm sewing here, it does not matter. So I'm not going to say what pattern I'm sewing here. It's a pattern that hasn't been released yet. I'm really happy with the result. I was thinking of just sewing it and not filming anything, but then I thought, what a great chance to make a special video for those newer to sewing. Sew any tee with this video and you will get amazing results. I'm using rayon spandex in a wild print. I'm not a fan of rayon spandex. I would much prefer other fabrics like double brush poly, cotton lycra, even rib knit. But I did have this rayon spandex in my collection that I think is okay. It's nice. I know it's not going to last for a very long time, but it will make for a really nice t-shirt for the time it will last. So let's see how to put this one together. If you're loving this practical sewing content and it's really helping you at home sew your garments, make sure you tap like on this button because it really lets YouTube know that this is good content. They promote it for more people, and other sewers can get involved with this channel where they can get so much from. These are basic pattern pieces that you'll see in t-shirt patterns or knit top patterns like this one. And you have a sleeve. In this case, it's a short sleeve. It can be a long sleeve. This is the back, it's cut on the fold. This is the front, it's cut on the fold. We have a round neckline there, and so we have a neckband right there. That's just a rectangle. This specific pattern has a bust-out, which is rare to find. I really appreciate it. for a larger bust cup size. It'll get rid of some diagonal drag lines that happen on the side when you don't have a basta in a knit project. This pattern also has a higher rounded neckline, a crew neckline, and it also has a V neckline option. Also has a long sleeve. These are the back shoulders, and I've got a bit of fusible stay tape that's going to fuse right on there and stabilize them so that these don't end up stretching out over time. Maybe over time, if you wash it and wear it a lot, it might look like your shoulders are fitting wider than they are, but it's not. It's just these have stretched out. I think this is more important if you have heavier fabrics or long sleeves than if you have short sleeves, but it's good practice. There are other ways to do it, like sewing clear elastic into the seam or sewing a piece of ribbon there. But this is good and it's going to keep it nice and stable. Here we have our back piece extended, right sides up, and now we're going to take our front and put it right sides together. We're going to align them at the shoulder seams and get that sewn directly on the serger. Right there. I've got the layer that is stable with the fusible stay tape on the top because it doesn't stretch, and I have the stretchy layer on the bottom. The feed dogs of the serger are going to help that not stretch out. If I did it the other way around, the presser foot would stretch this top layer and it would end up being longer than this one if I did it the other way around. So that's a practical tip for you if you are stabilizing this. For the few things I'm going to be doing with the sewing machine, I'm going to be using a jersey needle like this one. I'm using number 90/14, and that's going to work well. It's not going to rip the fabric as you go. I'm not going to use a straight stitch. I'm going to use a zigzag. That is this number on my sewing machine is going to be different for you. And it's going to be shallow, so it's going to look almost flat. So almost flat, and then the stitch length is going to be 2.5. So it'll be slightly wavy, almost flat, and it'll stretch. It's rare that you see a basta on a knit top, but you might see it. There are some patterns around. It's just not very common. And when I was marking everything on my fabric, I just marked on the edge here, little lines. I could just lift the paper and mark them there. And then through the paper, I stuck a pin through so I could have the tip. Then I pull the paper away and mark the tip. And then I can draw my basta. I use a ruler and I used a friction pen. It will come off with the iron. It's something like this. This is red, but I used the blue one for that one, and that's how I can have a nice mark. There are other things you can use, chalk, you can use thread. If your fabric is dark, you can mark it with something that you can barely see, and then you can mark it with thread and then remove that. So there's many ways to do it, and this is a very easy way. There's also chalk pens that you can use. I have pinned the basta, and the way you sew is not very different from when you sew bastats on woven garments. I start from the tip right here. I let my needle in with my hand so that it's right at the edge, and I don't back tack there, don't secure, just leave the threads hanging and we can knot them later, and then you sew to the widest part. There you can see the dart has been sewn. And we can knot this, and because we let the needle in right at the edge of the fabric, when we look at the dart on this side, it's going to be really nice and neat. You're not going to have a pucker or a dimple right there. There is the basta. It's very discreet with this print. Here we have the neckband from this pattern. Now you can sew this with the serger. I'd rather not though, because I find it bulky. So I prefer sewing it with a sewing machine and then pressing the seams open. Then it helps it lie flatter. That's just my preference. So let's sew that together, in this case with a 3/8 seam allowance. Grab your threads and just hold them a little firmly when you start so that you can get things going. If you notice, when I started, I didn't back tack. I do that on purpose to avoid this going inside the metal plate sometimes. It happens with knits, sometimes with lightweight wovens as well. So I just prefer to leave it and just knot it by hand. I do back tack at the end because that usually doesn't happen at the end, but it can happen at the start. So now that this is sewn, I'm just going to open this up. Now we're going to fold the band like that onto each other, wrong sides together, and we're going to have our neckband. You don't have to have this at the center back, but you can if you want to. I am going to leave it at the center back. So I'm just going to hold this together. And now I'm going to divide this in 4. This is standard for most t-shirts. Some t-shirts have little notches that you match up to little places. They do it for you. So that's easy, but sometimes you don't see that on some patterns, so you can do it yourself. So just grab that pin and find the other half over here. And then take these 2 pins, put them on top of each other, and mark the next quarters. Then I continue folding my neckband. Now I'm just going to continue folding this because it wasn't folded all the way around. Okay, so here we have our neckband folded, wrong sides together. It's round. Let's put it aside. And let's do the same to the neckline. Divide it in 4. Now, when I was cutting my fabric, I already marked the centers right there with a little pen. I marked where the pattern piece was, so I have that already there. So now I'm going to place these marks on top of each other like that, putting the centers right on top of each other. And then I'm just going to hold the edge of the neckline like this, move it along as I go, and I can find the quarter points. The quarter points are never ever the shoulder seams. So don't ever think the shoulder seam is a reference for your neckband because it never is. You know, you always have a higher back neckline than the front neckline. So don't make the mistake of assuming that the shoulders mean something here. They don't. So here we have our neckline. This is the front because it's lower. The back is higher. And these are the shoulder seams there. And you can see the quarter point is coming towards the front of the neckline. That is the quarter point. So let's get our neckband and match up the pins. I said I was going to leave the seam of the neckband at the center back. So that's where that's going to go. And this other side is going to go here at the center front. I have my mark on the fabric right there, and I'm going to match it up with this pin. And I'm going to pin it. And then I'm going to keep going and find my next pin on the band, match it up with a pin on the neckline. The neckband is always going to be slightly shorter than the neckline. It has to be like that so it doesn't gape. You can see the difference there. So as we sew, we're going to be stretching that neckband a little to match the length of the neckline underneath. And that's how we're going to serge it together. First, we have to match up all the quarters here. This is the center back. It's going to match the center back where I have that mark. And then this is the next one. So we do this directly on the serger. We just choose one of the quarter points to start with and go around. I'm going to start close to where the shoulder seam is. I'm going to slide this under there, get my presser foot down, take away this pin. The shoulder seams should be pointing to the back, so I'm going to make sure that they are. They're pointing to the front right now, so I'm just going to push them to the back. I have my next pin right here. I know how much I need to stretch this band on the top to match the neckline underneath, and I want to keep all the layers together. You can see I've got my hand here. That's the next pin, the next quarter. I've got my neckband on top, slightly stretched to match the neckline underneath. When I get to the next pin, I'm going to remove it right there, grab my next pin over here and stretch to match. Not stretch excessively, just to match what's underneath. Don't stretch the layer underneath. The more you do this, the easier this will become, and this can take you no time to do. As I'm going to go over this shoulder seam, I'm going to make sure it's pointing towards the back. I'm going to make it go the right way. Then I'm at the next pin. I'm going to remove it, get my next one and stretch. All done in 4 little sections. I've removed the last pin, and that's where I started, and that's where I'm going to finish. Instead of just cutting off the serger thread, I am going to do something a little different to make it neater and for it not to start unraveling. We have 4 types of thread in the serger here, and I'm just going to poke with my seam ripper and just separate them. I'm going to find the regular thread, not the woolly nylon, and push it out. And then I'm going to find the other one. And then the 4 threads are not looped anymore, they're separated. So I can give this a few knots and it'll be a neat finish that won't start falling apart over time. So there is a neckband sewn. Now, Some people like to top stitch this down. I don't like doing it, especially with lightweight fabrics like this. I think it stretches it out and it ends up wavy sometimes. I think you can really ruin it. So I just leave it like it is. When I go to the iron and press it, I don't stretch this as I press it. I'm just going to put it down like this and just steam like this. Shh, shh, shh. Very lightly. That's it. Not stretching anything out. And that's how the neckband's going to look. Very nice. Okay, we've done some basic steps. We've done shoulder seams, stabilized them. We've done bust starts if you have them on the pattern. We've done the neckband. I've pressed everything nicely. And I'm going to sew the sleeve in on the flat on this side. And then I'm going to do it another way on the other side just so you can see two ways. The way that you do it on the flat is the most common way that you'll see it in most patterns. This is the back over here and you have double notches here. On the front armhole, you have single notches and you have the same on the sleeve. So here are the double notches, here are the single notches. At the top, you have a little mark on the sleeve that will match the shoulder seam. And this is how we match it up now. So we pin it all together, matching up all the points. And then we sew the sleeve all in one go like that on the flat. Okay, here we have our armhole. I have the sleeve on the bottom and I've matched everything up. Single notch with a single notch. I've marked them in red so you can see them. You go around the curve, it matches 1 to 1. Here's the shoulder seam that matches the little mark on the sleeve at the bottom. And as we go down to the back, we have the double notches matching the double notches, and then we go all the way down to the edge. Two different curves that need to match each other, but they are going to match, but they are going to have the same length. And now we're going to sew the sleeve. Okay, now that we've sewn the sleeve, we can do one seam that's going to catch that seam of the sleeve, go through all that intersection of seams, and then complete the side seam in one go. If you have a long sleeve, of course, this seam is going to be way longer. It's going to come from here and then down. That is traditional way of constructing a knit top. So let's get that sewn. As you can see, the other side is different. We're going to sew the sleeve differently just so you can have two methods to choose from. Okay, there we have it. Sleeve sewn on the flat, this little seam and that little seam sewn. If you love that, go ahead and do the other side the same. There is a reason why I prefer to do it differently, and it's because of the bulk that you get on this seam right there. It's just a personal preference, but it's not wrong to sew it like this. It's actually correct. It's also correct to sew it the other way, which is sew the side seam separately, sew the sleeve separately like you do in woven projects, and then set the sleeve in on the round as a later step. I prefer that because I find it's more comfortable in this area and it just allows your arm to move more freely in the way that the seam is sewn on the round on the sleeve. So let's do it like that just so you can choose. So it's a simple side seam and then we'll construct the sleeve separately. You see that I put my pins quite a distance away from the edge. These are not complicated seams, so you don't have to put the pins too close to the edge. That means I can serge in one go and just remove all the pins in one go later, which makes it a little faster and a little easier to do. Okay, after the side seam, and it's just this little seam right here. If you have a long sleeve, then of course it's longer. And I even like hemming it before setting it in because it's just so much easier. So let's get this little seam sewn right here, and then we can work on the hem. I'm serging the raw edge of the sleeve. In theory, you don't have to. Knit is not going to unravel, but it would look very messy if you just left it raw. I'm doing this on the round. I'm just letting the serger do its thing. I'm not pushing the fabric along with my hands or anything. I don't want this to stretch out and turn out wavy. So I'm just letting the fabric feed through the presser foot and the feed dogs on its own. After serging the bottom of the sleeve, I folded it up and gave it a quick hand base just to keep it in place. If I put pins, I can't see the back part of it and I need to sew on the right side of the sleeve. So the hand basting is going to keep it in place and it's going to turn out an even hem. What I have over here is a twin needle. To use it, it's super easy. You just use 2 spools of thread. I have a tiny one there and then the big one at the back. And then you just put them together and thread them the same as you would a single thread, all the same, just together. When the threads come out through here, you just thread one through one needle, one through the other one, and that is all. I've used a beige thread at the back, so maybe you can see that what happens on the back is a little zigzag when you use the twin needle. So that allows this to stretch with you as you move. So it is a stretch stitch and really appropriate for hemming sleeves of knit tops like this. So that's super neat. If you don't have a twin needle, you can use a zigzag stitch, but I don't like the look of that. So this is a simple way you can do it with your regular sewing machine. Okay, after constructing the sleeve, sewing the hem and everything, I slid the sleeve inside the armhole, right sides together, and matched up the notches. Single notch to single notch on the front, the double ones on the back, the side seam with the seam of the sleeve. Now this is important. The side seams are going to the back and the seam of the sleeve is going to the front so that they nest together and it's less bulky. So pinned on the round, same fit, 1 to 1, and we're going to sew this. Last step is to sew the hem at the bottom. I've also folded it up, serged the edge, the same as you saw me do with the sleeves, only that this hem is longer, and I've hand basted it, and I'm going to use the twin needle as well. No different to what you saw with the sleeves, just a wider circumference here. I just feed the fabric through the presser foot and the feed dog. I don't pull it or stretch it or anything like that. I just let the machine do its thing to avoid any waviness. My pattern has a basta, this one has a short sleeve, this one has a round neckline that's a little lower. You can apply the same techniques. If your neckline is a little higher, you're still going to have a neckband. If you have a long sleeve, you can do the same thing. If you have a shirt that's longer or shorter, it'll be all the same. This is the t-shirt. You can see the print is amazing. It's quite out there. Rayon spandex, not my fave, but it makes for a very comfortable t-shirt. I've got twin needle hem. I have a neckband right here. Simple side seams, twin needle hem at the bottom. There is a basta on this one. You can barely see it. So beautiful result. Here is a look at the t-shirt I was sewing. For now, we will leave what pattern brand and all of that in a mysterious state. You will soon know. What was important was how to sew it. I'm very happy with the fit of this t-shirt. This is a rayon spandex. The sewing construction was quite straightforward, as you can see. And you can apply the same sewing construction to any normal t-shirt pattern like this one. There is a round neckline. I think it fits really well. There is the basta that you won't see in all the t-shirt patterns, but you might see it in a few. It makes the sides fit smoother when you have a larger cup size. And this is gorgeous. Now here's another look at that neckline. It went in beautifully. It's not gaping. When I live my life and bend over, I'm not going to be showing anything. It's not top stitched. I just pressed it nicely. Sleeve fit nice and comfortable. You see one side was sewn on the flat, the other one was sewn on the round, so you can choose. It's amazing when you find a t-shirt that you like the fit of, you can make over and over again. And I hope this sewing video helps you make many. I'm going to recommend 3 free t-shirt patterns from different brands that you can test out. The first one is the classic tee from Love Notions. The way that you get this one for free is going to their Facebook group. In the pinned comment there on the Facebook group, you'll find the code that you need to use at checkout to get the pattern for free. It's a really good pattern. It was created quite a few years ago, 2019. It's been fully tested. Lots and lots and lots of people love this pattern. This one I would say is semi-fitted. It's slightly shaped. It's not boxy. And it's got options, long sleeves, short sleeves, round neckline, the V neckline as well, sizing from extra small to 5X. It's got a standard bust and a full bust option. So I think it's a good one that you can try for free. Just make sure you grab the code from the Facebook group. The second one is from Closet Core Patterns and it's called the Core T-shirt. This one has 2 sizing drafts from 0 to 20. That's for a B cup. And then from 14 to 32 US, that's drafted for a D cup. Now that option has a bust start. So you see, I'm not making it up that some t-shirts have bust starts. Much better option for a fuller bust cup size there. So that is a really good option. The fit of the core tee is boxy, so it's more straight on the sides. It's not too shaped at the waist or going in like that. So just take that into account. There are length options, also sleeve options. There's a neckband there, and it goes up to a 63-inch hip. Now, to get the core t-shirt, all you have to do is go on the website. I'll leave you the link down there. You have to type in your email to get newsletters, and then boom, you'll be able to download the pattern. So to get a free pattern, giving your email, it's not such a bad thing. I did it and I got the t-shirt. These two free t-shirt options I'm sharing with you have an option for a larger bust cup size, so that is good. Now, the third option I'm going to share with you is the green tee from Green Style Creations. This is also a free t-shirt pattern that you can get the code for from the Facebook group, and then you can check out for free. The fit of this one would be fitted, a little shorter. Also options here with long sleeves, short sleeves. This one's drafted for a B cup. The sizing goes from B to M. Now, as I mentioned, drafted for a B cup, it means that if you have a larger cup size, you might run into issues of the shoulders fitting a little wider than you think, or maybe some drag lines. So I would recommend this one if you have a smaller bust cup size. A, B, C, I think you would be okay sewing bust cup size. Just take that into account. Check out these 3 free t-shirt patterns. Check out which one would be more suited for you based on your bust cup size, based on the fit that you prefer, whether it's boxy, fitted, or semi-fitted. There's 3 options there for you to choose from. Use the sewing construction that you saw here for any of them, and you will have amazing results. Little differences here and there, seam allowances, things like that. But the main steps, if you do them all, you will get a great t-shirt. I hope you really go out there, get yourself nice fabrics, get yourself a t-shirt pattern, follow along and make your first one. Make several of them. They are always so much better than the ones that you can buy. And I hope this was helpful. That's all from me. I'll see you next time very soon on this channel with more sewing. Bye.